One of the more overlooked parts when it comes to sales training is looking at money mindset. Not just mindset around like having the sales conversations, but how you truly feel about money. Because sales is about an exchange of money and energy. And I'm so excited about today's podcast episode because that's what we're diving into. I'm Dr. Nadia, founder of the Buoyant Agency and host of the Straight Talk About Sales with Dr. Nadia podcast. And I'm really excited to dive into this topic around your money mindset matters when it comes to your success in sales. So while you're out here getting different skills, make sure you're also focusing on your money mindset. This is an episode you don't want to miss. So, when you're looking at doing sales and being able to become more proficient in sales, or even as you look to shift out of the sales role in your business, depending on where you are in your business, it's important to really understand that your money mindset matters. And it's funny because I was at an event recently, and one of the speakers talked about just how important or impactful your personal development is to the growth of your business. And so, in today's episode, I really want to talk about your money mindset and also just looking at some keys from my book, Sell Like a Lady: How to Master Sales with Dignity, Class, and Grace. And in one of the chapters in the book, we talk about, or I should say, I talk about your money mindset, because while there's a lot of focus on sales and how to do it and what to say and do I use a script and how much am I going to charge, and all of those things are definitely important and they do impact your ability to sell and sell well. One of the things that sometimes we don't necessarily always think about is, how do you feel about money? How do you feel about money? No, really. How do you feel about money? And I want you to sit with that. So even after this episode is over, I want you to take some time to just sit with, how do I feel about money? Paying attention to the conversations that you have around money, even if it's just with yourself, how you make decisions, how you make investments, even then how you sell. Because women, and all of us, not just women, all of us have been conditioned and programmed to feel some kind of way around money, right? And however, it looks sometimes often it looks different for women. And many times women are told that they're not good with money. They're typically portrayed as the big spenders, while guys or men are more typically portrayed as the investors or savers, the ones that are more responsible with money. And one of the things that I've often seen in my work is that this programming then impacts our ability to show up powerfully when we're in our business, when we're looking to have sales conversations, when we're just doing some of the work around pricing. I just finished leading at the time of this recording. I just finished leading a master sales series, training series. I'm like, "Wow, brain fart." And in that series, part of what we do over the 5 training sessions that we have together is we work on your pricing. Because what I've seen is that a lot of times the pricing that we pick is literally like we just pick numbers out the air. It's like, oh, that sounds good. Or I saw this person to charge this and that. And I'm like, no, 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 no. We're not doing that. So we actually have an entire session dedicated to going through and actually doing the work, rolling up our sleeves, taking out our calculators, and doing the work to make sure our pricing makes sense for our business and that is profitable. Like, all of your pricing, you can't be in the red, but I digress. One of the things that came up though during that exercise for some of the participants was that mindset, that whole thing around money. Can I charge enough? Ma'am, you have over 20 plus years of experience in your field. I don't know what we're talking about enough, right? Like, will I charge too much? This is also one of the reasons why we do the math, because it's so easy to get caught in your head around charging and worth, and those people that tell you need to charge what you're worth, and I tell you, you can never charge what you are worth. You're priceless. You, my dear, are priceless. You can never charge what you are worth. Okay? When we get that in our bones and let that settle in our spirit, then we can do the math. And so, with that, when you do the math, it takes you out of that headspace, right? It takes you out of, well, I don't know, and maybe I shouldn't do that, or it helps. It doesn't always eliminate, but it definitely helps. And it's important because what often happens is in a sales conversation, if we haven't done the math or done our work, we waffle on our pricing because we don't have any foundation. We have nothing to stand on. So we're in a sales conversation. Someone pauses, someone hems and haws, someone says they can't afford it. Maybe they say it overtly or covertly, or you just interpret it that way. And then if we're not careful, what do? We start to discount, we start to backpedal, or we feel like we have to go into conversations with a convincing type energy. And that none of that is necessary. So this is why we take the time to one, look at your money mindset. Like that is the first thing we do in this training series is we talk about all the things that get in our way when it comes to sales, when it comes to money, when it comes to receiving. Many of us are givers. I know I have been there. I'm the oldest girl, the oldest child, oldest child, female. Some of that stuff that you may see on Instagram is definitely true about Nadia. However, you do the work to shift it. Are you willing to receive? Because we can't give. And if you're not careful, you start to see that show up in your business and you start to see that show up in your sales. I remember years ago when I made the pivot to the agency and we launched a sales agency, and I was still testing some different pricing models for the offer that we had then. At that time, it was done for you sales support. And I remember one of my colleagues who has since been a client, we've actually been each other's client, but she told me, she was like, Nadia, if you're getting too many yeses, your pricing is too low. Like if you're out here having these sales conversations, everybody's just saying yes, 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 yes. She was like, I know you're great. I think you're wonderful. And your price is too low. You need to increase it. And that was just like, whoa, but it's true because no is part of the journey. So I really want you to take some time to think about, how do you feel about money? How do you talk about money? Are you willing to receive money? Are you willing to receive a lot of money? And when I say some of these things, how do you feel? How do you respond? Are you getting upset with me for saying the word money so many times? What does a lot of money look like to you? Is that $1 million? Is that $1 billion? Is that $150,000? I don't know the answer, but I need you to sit down and really get clear on this because this is the key to everything, everything. And one of the things that often comes up is this notion that we're somehow not enough, that we haven't yet done enough. So back to my client I mentioned briefly earlier in this conversation when she's like, I don't know what to charge and I don't want my pricing to be too high where people can't afford to work with me, but a big part of that when we got under it wasn't so much that she didn't want her pricing to be where people didn't want to work with her or couldn't work with her. That was part of it, but that wasn't the root. The root was she didn't want to hear the word no. She wanted to be able to go into these sales conversations and invite people to work with her. And she's all excited because she is amazing at what she does, right? And she's want everybody to be able to say yes and to be able to serve everyone. And that's not how it works. And so once we did the math and we looked at her numbers, her expenses, her time, her team's time, like she has a whole team. Like we were like, your business will never grow if you continue down this path of pricing. Now, ultimately, you get to make the choice. Like this is your business. However, you hired me to support you and the numbers don't lie. Like we have the calculator and we're looking at where you are and what these numbers around your pricing should look like. And when we get all of those pieces in place, and of course we can, work on, well, how do you explain it? How do you help people understand that? But you go first. You first have to feel and know that you are enough. And at the same time, you are often still a work in progress. So just like my client who has over 20 something years of experience in her field, and let me tell you, I've seen the woman in action. She is, oh my gosh, amazing. And she still was like, well, maybe I need more of this and maybe I need more of that. And granted, things change over the years. And are there things that still things that she could learn? Sure. But is she good now? Yes. And so you go, it can be a both and. It's not a let me wait or let me continue to test or let me continue to work for free until I build up some imaginary number of enoughness in order to charge the value that I provide to my clients. And when you align that with actual data, numbers from your business, now you're making decisions that are strategic and can help your business grow and be profitable. And you're not always stressed out, or you work with clients and you get to the end of an engagement and you're like, where did all the money go? Or I one colleague was like, I work just to pay everyone else. But where's that money? Like, are you paying yourself? Are you part of this equation? And oftentimes when I have clients do this exercise and I'm like, all the line items, I'm like, where are you? You do work. Many of us still, we're the visionary, the CEO, we still do, we have that creative visionary directive, but many of us still actually work in the business. We're wearing at least one other hat. So you're doing some tangible. How is it that you're paying everyone else, but you leave you out? So that is something I want you to really spend some time looking at and evaluating and getting support. And that support may be you need a therapist. I'm not a therapist or a licensed counselor, but if you need one, we can help you find one. I don't know what that looks like, but I just want you to do that. So I really want you to think about what that looks like for you and how are you getting in your own way because you have some mindset challenges or issues or things you just hadn't really thought about. It just is what it is. And this is just how life is lifing right now. And I never stopped long enough to really look at, okay, how am I getting in my own way? And so a story about Nadia, because I always want people to understand that I'm never coming from this place of I know better than you, right? And I've experienced it all and I've done it all and I have arrived. I too am a work in progress. And so I remember even years, even before we got to the sales piece years ago. So this is probably a time of this recording by about almost nearly 13 years, 12, 13 years ago, when I was like, all right, hanging up my shingle and we're starting a business. And there was time when I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Well, how will I do this? What will this look like? Do I have enough experience in what I'm doing? Ma'am, you have an entire doctorate in what it was that I was doing back then. Ma'am, you have experience in this, and this from your corporate experience, ma'am. And were there things that I still needed to learn or could learn or refine or get better? Absolutely. But a lot of that refinement comes in the actual doing, not sitting in your office, just collecting more and more information. You have to take action and we have to get our minds right. My husband laughs because he's always like, you're always saying, get your mind right. And it's true in many cases, and not just in this. There are different instances where that advice is sage wisdom. Get your mind right. So a couple of things that I just want you to think about as it relates to mindset myths. One of the things is that when it comes, especially when it comes to sales, is that you're a born salesperson or you have to become this person or this persona that it typically isn't you in order to be successful in sales. That is false. Integrity Solutions shared a stat some years ago that up to 85% of your success in sales is all around how you feel about it, your mindset, your attitude, your beliefs around sales. So when you start to shift that, things shift. But again, a big part of that is how do you feel about money? How do you feel about when the numbers add up and you have to go have possibly a tough conversation or draw a line in the sand? How you feel about that, being able to stand up for yourself? that has absolutely nothing to do with sales. That has everything to do with your mindset around you and your boundaries and understanding how that impacts your business. I think sometimes we make decisions in our businesses without information that is easily and readily available. I get that there are times in our businesses we have to make decisions and we don't have all the info, we don't have all the details, we got to go with what we have. But there are also other times when we willingly ignore certain information and certain data, particularly money and the numbers that could really help us to not only be able to generate more money, more profit in our more revenue in our businesses, but also to be able to position us where we have sustainable businesses and we're not always on our revenue roller coaster where 1 month I have money and the next 3 months I have none, right? Like, how do we build that consistency in our business? And a big part of that does lie in being willing to look at the numbers, willing to do the math, and then willing to do the work, but having a basic understanding of what that is. Does that mean that you have to become a CPA? No. You may need to hire someone to support you, and there are people out there that you don't even have to work with them all the time, but they can help get you on the right path so that you're making good strategic financial decisions in your business that will help your business grow and move forward. And so a couple of other things too is when it comes to sales, it's not even about you. Like, I know I just talked all about your money mindset, that does impact it. But honestly, when it's down to it and having a sales conversation, that's not about you. That's about you serving the person in front of you. It's about you looking and really understanding, am I a good solution for the challenge that the person in front of me is having? And if the answer is yes, are we a good match? And if the answer is yes, then you get to extend an invitation. And then that person gets to decide if they agree and if they can make it work right now or if it needs to happen in some time in the future. So again, it's really important when you're looking at your mindset, because a lot of times we go into sales conversations and we make it all about us. What I want, how I want it, what I want it to look like, how I'm feeling. None of that matters. All of this, really, you need to deal with that before you go into the conversation, because now you're showing up in service to that other person or that other company in order to be able to support them in achieving the things that they are looking to achieve through you, your team, your company, your organization. And then one thing that I just want to add as I wrap up for this particular episode is there are times, I will not lie, that it does suck. Sales, some days it sucks. It can be hard. I don't want to negate the reality that there are things that are cyclical. There are things that sometimes happen that we hadn't planned on. Life's, right? And so outside of doing the best that we can to our ability to just be prepared financially and making strategic fiscal moves, there are also things that I advise clients to do, because sales, while it often isn't personal, it's business, right? It can sometimes feel personal. And this is especially true when you are representing your business and your brand and you're putting yourself out there. And there are days when it feels more personal than others. Honestly, I've done at this point, oh my gosh, for years at this point, I've done in some way, shape, or form sales on behalf of others. And there are times that's not even my business, but it still sometimes feels personal because I'm the one having that conversation and I'm the one hearing whatever feedback that person in front of me may be having or on the phone. And some days, most days, I would say it just rolls off and it is what it is, and just move on, right? And there are the other days when I'm emotional, I'm a human, I get in my feelings. So I bring all that up to say that I want you to prepare for the days when it's not always yes, the answer is not always go. Some days is no, 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 followed by a whole lot more no and not right now. And it does feel emotional. It can be stressful. You may really need it to work out in those moments. So you need to have a plan. So some of those things can look like, who are your people? I don't remember. Oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of the company at this point, but there was a phone company. I want to say it was a cell phone company some years ago. And it was like, who's in your five faves or your Fab Five or something like that. It was like five. And in that, who are the people that you can go to? That's my point. That you can go to and call them or reach out or message them or Voxer them or text them or whatever and say, you know what? Today is sucking. Like it just sucks. It sucks. And they're like, okay, give it to me. And then they tell you, okay, they give you some encouraging words, but more importantly, they encourage you to get back up and try it again, even if that's tomorrow. I have people, you should have people too, whether it's in a formal mastermind or business coaching group, or it's just people in your life that love you. It could be a spouse. Sometimes spouses don't do well in that role, so choose carefully. And then reach and knowing that you're going to reach out. But most important is they allow you the space to vent. They don't discount your feelings about it because in those, the real is real. And they encourage you to get back in the game. It's going to be okay. I know this sucks right now. Let it all out. Cry if you must, but get back in the game. Don't quit. The other thing is, what are their treats? Are there things that you might do? You know, is there chocolate? I know for some of my events, chocolate is on hand because, hey, that's my coping mechanism. May not be the most recommended one, but it works. Do you need to schedule a massage? Do you just need to go take a walk? Maybe you just need to take a nap. Or you could have your, me and some clients, we call this our no playlist. You have a playlist when you have those days when you have a bunch of sales calls and you're just in it or a big call and it doesn't go, or you just need to get the nerves out. Maybe you need the no playlist even before you go in. We would have to call it the yes playlist though. You get you pumped up, right? But it's something that gets you moving, it's energetic, it's upbeat, it's exciting, it's happy, and it helps to shift your mood. It helps you to realize that this moment is only temporary and things will turn around. So there are a couple of things that I really want to reiterate when it goes back to mindset. One, your money mindset matters. So as you're growing as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a business leader, I need you to commit to some sort of continued professional development, personal development, and earmark some of those dollars, specific money training around how to do financial forecasting, how to really understand my numbers, how to really do my pricing so that you can make strategic moves. I had a client who just did our series and she came to one of our training calls. I think it was one of our office hours. She was ready. She was about to go into a conversation with I believe it was like a college or university. And they were going to potentially bring her and her team in to do some training. And they charged based on how they did it at their setup. There was like a per student fee, but there was also some sort of rev share. So she did her numbers, including travel, including this, including all the things. And we came up with the number that she had to charge per student in order for her to come home in the black and not lose money on this opportunity. And honestly, that number was higher than what she was ready to say, but she was able to, and she was like, you know what, Nadia, I did this. I want to make sure that I scheduled the call after we had this session so we could look at the numbers and I could go in there feeling confident that I can't go below this number or else I basically paid y'all to come and work. Like no, that's not how we do this. So this is why it's so important. Mindset, understanding the money, understanding numbers, but being willing to do the work. And then also, are you willing to receive? How much are you willing to receive in your business? Both as a business in terms of top line revenue, but then also as a employee or worker or contractor in the business doing the work as a worker bee. Like, what does that look like? And have you really considered you? I want to remind you yet again, you are enough. You're priceless. You can never charge what you are worth. That's why we put that aside. You're amazing. You're priceless. Let's take out the pen and paper or the pencil and paper and a calculator and do the math so we can figure out what this pricing needs to look like. And then also understanding that sales conversations aren't about you. It's really an opportunity for you to show up and serve, to position yourself and really be a strategic ally. And then if you are the solution to someone's problem, yay! And you might have the opportunity to work with them. And finally, remembering that there are some days where it does not all go as planned. Sales may suck. The launch may not launch. It's a flop. It's okay. What type of contingencies, not just financial contingencies, although those are important, but also your contingencies to make sure you protect your mental health, your physical health, your emotional well-being, so that you can continue to move forward and get back in the game. I'm telling you, these are some of the many insights that I share in my book, Sell Like a Lady, How to Master Sales with Dignity, Class, and Grace. And we're going to be talking more about that during this season on the podcast. So I hope this was awesome. So here's the thing. We're introducing something new, and I'm really excited about it. Some of you are already on my mailing list and you respond to my emails because I send them out and I talk to you and I'm like, what's going on? And you're like, hey, Dr. Nadia, this is happening. We're implementing a new segment on the podcast called Ask Dr. Nadia. So if you have questions and you're like, Dr. Nadia, but what about this? I want to hear from you. So we set up a separate email address so it doesn't get lost in our day-to-day do-to-do, right? So email us at askdrnadia@thebuoyantagency.com. Ask Dr. Nadia at thebuoyantagency.com. We want to hear from you. What questions do you have? What feedback, guest suggestions, things you want me to cover on the podcast? I want to hear it all. So send that over to us and then I'll answer questions during an upcoming episode. So you definitely want to make sure to tune in. Oh, and one thing I want you to put in your email, because we don't have a formal form, is include in the email if you are okay with me saying your name, like, revealing your identity, or if you're like, I want to be anonymous. Either one is fine. We will respect your privacy, but I really want to hear from you. So again, ask Dr. Nadia at thebuoyantagency.com. We'll be sure to put that in the show notes so you can reach out to us and I'll get to answer your questions on upcoming episodes of the podcast. So finally, if you have enjoyed today's podcast, please rate us, like us, share it, let other people know about the Straight Talk About Sales podcast. And you can listen on your favorite player, or we also have our YouTube channel at straighttalkaboutsales.tv. All right. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Straight Talk About Sales. I cannot wait until the next episode because we are going to keep the party going. More conversations around how to sell, how to master sales with dignity, class, and grace. You don't have to be icky. You don't have to be sliming. You get to be amazing. I'll see you soon.